Welcome to the My Reader Minutes. For those that are new here, welcome. To all my new subscribers, thank you for joining me on my journey. Today I want to get into Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is season 9, episode 2, and I believe it's called Throuple in Paradise. So, let's dive in, shall we? So it starts off the way okay. So it picks up where it left off last week. And they were in mid-conversation, Melody and Stormi. And Stormi was asking Melody, where does she stand? And if she agreed with the millimeters actions. And the action that she's talking about is one of the, I guess she's a YouTuber. Her name is Miss Black Titanic. Her story is that she was trying to locate Stormi's establishment. She had gone to another location where Stormi apparently wasn't there anymore. And she found her new location for her warehouse. And she did have another little guy with her who was, I guess, filming, but they wanted to say, oh, she moved from here to there. And as they were approaching her building, I want to say, because I remember seeing the footage of that. And I want to say she was in the parking lot, but I don't know if Courtney, Stormi's husband, was outside and saw her, because he was the one that started saying, what are you doing? What are you doing around here? Whatever, whatever. I don't know if he called Stormi or if he happened to be coming to the door and Stormi heard him because she could hear him talking to somebody outside. But anyway, Stormi came outside and started laying Miss Black Titanic out. And instead of Stormi calling the police, which I think she said she would do, Miss Black Titanic says, oh no, we're leaving, blah, blah, blah. But I want to say Miss Black Titanic wanted to tell her that she was there to purchase some products. Now, whether she was there to purchase some products or not, I don't know. Doesn't seem like she would go to a warehouse to purchase the products. But that's what she said. That's her story, and that's what she's sticking to. However, for some reason, Stormi hit she went live, I guess, on Instagram and started laying out Miss Black Titanic, or she went through this long rant. Anyway, Miss Black Titanic took her to court. She filed for harassing communications or something like that. And Stormi had to turn herself in. Well, at the table, Stormi's thing was, we understand that everybody has fans. However, she felt like the millimeters take it to another level. They tried to kill and destroy. That was her wording. And she wanted to know where Melody stood on that. And Melanie, first she was like, well, how do you know they're millimeters? And they were like, they're self-proclaimed. They say they're millimeters. So Melanie still wasn't trying to say anything. Her thing was, so Stormi came out with the fact that she had to turn herself in because of the charges that were brought against her, and she was arrested. And when she was telling her story, Melanie was just like looking like straight through her, like she was like had no emotion, no nothing. And Melanie, she said, well, I think she was trying to get Melanie to say if she agreed with the actions of her fan, or what does she think? And Melanie was like, kind of deflecting to me, where she was like, well, I don't really respond to anything, even things that are opposed to her. And maybe she doesn't until she gets tired, like she did with Miss Wanda and lashed back at her. I've never heard Melody say anything to her. I think a couple of bloggers that, Stormi, supports, Tisha, is in line with, comment Melody all the time. And I don't recall her, saying anything or whatever. I don't know if they ever come or against her business. But Melanie runs her business out of her home, so I don't think that they are bold enough to come to the house and say and do anything. But anywho, I feel Stormi to a degree, but at the same token, I remember her going live and she was saying some really raunchy things about Miss Black Titanic. And she did have a case because that was defamation or some sort or whatever. Maybe that wasn't the charge, but it was harassing communications. But I want to say she got on there again and started saying that she was just hospitalized for being bipolar, or she was in depression or something to that effect. But I remember all that was around the same time. So long story short, Stormi was like, well, I just want to know where you stand. I'm just saying, where do you stand? And Melody was quiet. And Shanita was like, well, without her speaking, what do you want her to do? She says, obviously it's no. And then Stormi was like, well, I'm hearing you say no, but I want her to say it. Where does she stand? Where do you stand? And then Melody was like, I don't have to say anything. She said, I'm not really want to say anything to you, actually. Stormi said, say less. She said, and so Kimmy, pipes up and says, it'd be good for people to at least go on the record, even if it's not nothing that you can change, at least go on the record and I guess relate how you feel about a certain situation or whatever. But not that you would change anything, not that you could control anything, but people should at least go on the record and say something. So Stormi says, well, I'm really tired of talking about it now or whatever. And then Mel goes to her confessional and says, if a person gets arrested, then you must have done something to get arrested for. And I don't agree with that, Melody. That's not absolutely true. I get what you're saying, that, she must have done something to cause it, and maybe she did. And maybe she was saying that roundabout way, like she knew the particulars of that particular incident and just didn't want to, call her out on it. But in every case, that is not it. It's a lot of people locked up now for stuff they didn't do. People, losing 10, 20 years of their life for things that they didn't do. So for her to say that, I don't agree. But in this case, I believe Stormi did bring some of this on herself. Melody's basically said, we got these millionaire business owners here, and you mean to tell me that you can't call 911? That's what 911 was for. She said, no one can ever bring me out of my character. I'm not going to go outside and try to deal with something. 911, there's someone on my premises. I need you to come and remove them. And she was right about that. I agree with Melody wholeheartedly with that. Stormi has a temper, and we've seen her go from 0 to 100, even with the lady that was online. Remember that? And she went off on the lady because the lady was saying something about her product. And then she realized what she had done. She didn't want to get called on the carpet again. And then she sent her a whole box of all her fragrances of this body glaze. Remember that? So yeah, Stormi isn't good. She doesn't have a good business ethic, I guess that's what you want to call it, or bedside manner. I don't know what you call it. But anyway, she is ghetto, point blank, period. So Tisha pivots and kind of brings up Martell sliding in the Tricia DM story and rehashes that whole conversation because she wants Tricia to elaborate on what happened and so forth. And I thought this was like unnecessary. Like, why are you bringing this up? You really just proving Shanita to be right. You're the messiest bee on this trip. But neither here nor there. Tricia tries to pipe up and Tricia's she's all over the place when she tells her stories. I mean, I don't even know why they keep asking her stuff. But she made a comment, and I noted that she was like, yes, Martell, he DM'd me asking me if I could, we wanted to train, work out. And she said it was just about training. You can ask him, and then she made a comment. She says it never went that far. So why did you even have to even acknowledge that it never went that far? Because after I'd said that, yes, it was all about training, that would have been the end of my story. But it gives the impression that you all were flirting with each other, trying to get to know each other. And maybe when y'all got together, it was like the chemistry was off or it just didn't pan out. Maybe you look good on Instagram, but in person, you realize your personality didn't line up with your looks or whatever the case may be, because he made it seem like when talking to his boys, and I'll get to that segment in a minute, that it wasn't even about training. He said he looked on there. She wasn't as bad as she is now, but they came over. It was like a Netflix and chill type of evening. Totally different story. So somebody's lying. And right now I'm leaning towards Tricia only because of how she went back and forth with her situation with being married, estranged from her husband for 5 years, but having a boyfriend / fiance, even though you haven't even filed paperwork, and it's just a whole big ordeal. So Nell pops up and says, okay, well, I want to know why you was over there. I mean, why is she so loud, y'all? Why? Anywho, she was like, I'm sorry, but we all know that Martell is fine AF. And people like, yeah, I don't think so. I don't know what you think. Yeah. We know he a little bit of eye candy, blah, blah, blah. You know, Mel, you know I'm a straight shooter, blah, 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 blah. And, she said, why was you over there? She was just training. She said, and so Tisha says, so you went over there and went over his training package, and then that was it. She said, yes. And then I left. But then I think Stormi says something to the fact that when she brought it up to her before, she adamantly, after she brought up to her what Martell told her, she adamantly said, no, it wasn't true. She didn't go over there. She said, now you're saying that it is? And she said, yeah, she said, I didn't disclose that part. So Sonny speaks up and says, so you didn't disclose this up because you were afraid of what it could have looked like or whatever. And so Tricia was like, yeah, pretty much. So they're like, she lied, but it looks like she lies about a lot of things. Timelines don't add up with her when it comes to being with the boyfriend, being estranged from the husband, and all this kind of stuff. Because when you get Marquez's storyline, he was still in the house when them two was still talk, when them two started to talk. So meaning her and Ken. So Melanie comes back on. She's like, I've been, sitting back. I let people talk. She said, a lot of people, I let y'all talk. I let y'all hash everything out. I let y'all ask questions. I let y'all answer whatever, however y'all wanted to do it. She said, I just been sitting back, taking it all in, decompressing inside. And she said, I just want to, continue our trip. I think we have a day and a half left, and I want to continue, and enjoy the rest of the time that we have here. She said, I really don't have no feelings about this one way or the other. So Destiny pops up and she's like, yeah, Melanie is, unless she's evolved, the Melody I know has some feelings about it. And she might not have no feelings about it because it's like, Martell ain't no good. And whatever he has done, I'm sure she never caught everything that he did. You know what I'm saying? Only thing that she caught was who came and gave her attention. Because usually that thirsty side chick wants you to know that she's in the picture. So that's the only reason probably why she knew about Ariane, right? But if Tricia was just, a one-time thing, she came over, wasn't anything, why would she need to reach out to Melody? Even though she says, and she's telling her story in her timeline, that he clearly wasn't with Melody at the time. So, but I don't know. I don't trust Tricia because she be lying. Tricia be lying. So the next segment, after they leave dinner, is the next day, and Tricia comes in all joyful. Destiny and Kimmy, I think, are outside sunbathing or whatever. And Destiny said, or Tricia, or Kimmy says, why are you so, running and skipping like you so happy to go home? She said, because it's been a rough weekend. she realized what she done did and said, and she can think this Melody giving her the side eye. Melody ain't thinking about her. But she says she's leaving. Then here comes Stormi. She comes out. Both of them are like really happy that they're leaving that particular day. And both of them come and say that they have other obligations. Their children are doing stuff. So Kimmy said, oh, so y'all got kid stuff. And they're like, yeah, we got to go. And then they skip on out the door. So Kimmy, Tisha, and Mel, they're in the pool. Well, Kimmy and Tisha out there first. They're in the pool. And then Mel comes out to join them. And they're actually praising Mel about her planning and her trip and everything. And they tell them that they had a really good time. And so she says, I'm glad you all enjoyed yourself. And she's, they were talking about the conversation at dinner and how she might have didn't want me to make her feel uncomfortable. And she was like, Destiny sitting beside her was kind of weird. She said she doesn't understand why she's trying to make that happen. And they're like, really? And I mean, it's like every dinner she looked like Destiny was sitting next to her or whatever. And then she goes into talking about, how the conversation went at dinner about Tricia. And she said, I'm just going to keep it a buck. She said, Tricia is a liar. And she started off lying. And she goes into, they go back to a clip about how they were asking her about, her situationship and how, she goes from, well, I'm married. Well, I'm not married. Well, I am, but I'm still with the, and she, how Tricia does. And then, so she was all over the place. And her thing is the truth don't change. And every time she tells the story about what happened in the DM and not in the DM, and she said the truth don't change. She said to her, she said she's a liar. She's a liar. But she says, I don't feel no way about her. She said, I don't hate her. I don't know her enough to hate her. But she says, I am in a place in my life where I kind of know what type of people I want around me. And the people who needed to leave left. And I'm cool with that. She even said something about Stormi being delusional, but I didn't catch that all the way. So I don't know what type of time them two were on, but Melody wasn't feeling Stormi, especially at the dinner table. And I don't know what had happened. I'm sure they might have cut it out, but because her answer to her when she was asking her, she was so adamant about, where do you stand? And her thing was, I don't have nothing to say to you actually anyway. So someone's like, say less. So I don't know. They act like they had already been, they weren't really dealing with each other. So then the ladies gathered to take a boat ride on a catamaran called the Cat for food and drinks. And they all board. They sit around, they start talking, and everybody's, praising Melody because they're really having a good time. And Melody says, well, she really tried to go out of her way to make sure that everybody was comfortable. At least she thought she was. And the fact that Stormi and Tricia left without even saying goodbye, shows like pretty much, and I'm paraphrasing, that they don't have no manners. And especially, she said, why even come back to the house that, I invited you to? Just leave. And her thing was, Tricia, if her thing was like she's, rocking with Stormi because that's her friend, then that's fine. She ain't got to worry about her no more. She said, that's forever. I didn't quite understand what she meant by that, but I'm assuming if she felt like if she was taking a side, because, Melody has this thing about people taking sides, either with her or you're not. And if you're on the op side, then, she doesn't have a problem with cutting you off. And I feel like Tricia didn't even get in there good. So even though she said she didn't know her enough to not like her, I guess Tricia already told her whose side she was taking, But they could at least said, thank you for inviting us, but we got to go. And with that story that they told Kimmy and Destiny, that's what they could have told Melody. It wasn't that serious. Melody would have been like, okay, well, thanks for coming. Deuces, right? So then Nell puts Destiny on the spot. So she said, Destiny, what you been doing? You talked to Lucky? And Lucky is her son, Lance. Lucky is his nickname. And she admits that, there is some chemistry there between Destiny and Lance, but she doesn't feel that Lance is ready for a serious relationship because he just got out of a marriage. But if Lance is looking to have fun, she said, well, maybe Destiny can have fun with him. And then someone says, oh, well, I guess Nell could be your mother-in-law. So she looks and turns to Kimmy and says, well, I guess she done took your spot because, her son used to always flirt with Destiny too. I think Destiny's just a big flirt. Or maybe I don't know what she is. But all the guys seem to gravitate to her. That's why it seems very hard to accept the fact that maybe she didn't do nothing or nothing happened between her and Martell. Martell is a hoe. So it doesn't make sense. But anywho, that was that. So then now ask Sonny, does she have any children? And Sonny goes, no. And she said, like I said, we're, doing IVF. And so we're trying, not yet. So Destiny's sitting right there and obviously uncomfortable with the questioning about Sonny talking about having children with her ex, the guy that she married, Moses. And my thing was on the Sprinter, didn't we already hash that out? Like on their way to the island or on their way to the house? It was a whole conversation. I remember Sonny crying in the back of the Sprinter van when she was talking about how her first IVF treatment didn't go so well or whatever, and they were going to try again. But why Nell is bringing this up again, I don't know. Like she just ran out of stuff to say, or she just trying to get some camera time. I don't know what it is, but it's crazy. And obviously she feels, you can see Destiny feels so uncomfortable. And even in Sonny's confessional, she was like, she felt weird talking about it in front of Destiny. Because I think Destiny wasn't in the Sprinter van. Remember, she came later. So she didn't hear the conversation before, but Nell was in there. The hell? What's going on with her? So next thing, Mel was going around the boat and she asked the ladies to say, one word that described, their experience on the trip. And she said, we'll start with Tisha. And Tisha couldn't think of nothing right away. She was like, can you stop? Get back to me. So she started on the other end. And I think Nell said it was exhausting to her. Sharnita said it was, she was grateful. Melody says she was freeing. I want to say Kimmy said it was revealing to her. Destiny said it was a lot. First, that's 2 words, but okay, a lot. And then Lauren came after Destiny and basically said the same thing, that it was a lot, but she didn't say much. I mean, I think that was the most she ever said on the trip that we heard, or that it was edited in, but yeah. And then when we got back to Tisha, she said growthful and maturity. And growthful. So I didn't know that. I've never had to use the word growthful. So I didn't know if that was a word or not until they showed it. But it was funny in Mel's confessional. She didn't know it was a word either. Her thing was, I know ain't nobody around Tisha used the word growthful. She didn't even know that was a word. And she was cracking up laughing. She said, her mama ain't never used that word, growthful. And she was just cracking over laughing. But anyway, but that was key. I think I would have enjoyed that trip too. Aside from all the drama that they tried to conjure up. So the next segment, the guys got together. Maurice had arranged for them to all meet up and to participate in some archery, bow and arrow type thing. And all the guys came out. Yeah, Chris Fletcher, of course, Martell, Marceau, Ken, and Courtney. And they all get together. You see them all, arrive. And then they show y'all them trying to shoot the target. They had a balloon in the middle of this round target. I remember archery in school. I used to like archery, but where would I go to do archery now? Now they have the axe thing. You know, you throw the axe and try to get the target or whatever. But anywho, Martell wants to pull Moses to the side and Fletcher, and he wants to talk about the house that they showed him and want to know if he was still interested in selling the house. Do we know if they ever sold the house or are they renting it out? Because I didn't see nobody talk about whether they had sold it or not, and I didn't bother to look it up or find out. I figured somebody would report on it whether or not they were sold, but I haven't heard anything. But maybe they did. But Moses said they were still looking. They were still trying to, tie up some loose ends on their side in St. Louis. But knowing what we know now about Moses, we know what he was trying to tie up. But yeah, he basically said that the property was nice. It would probably be more like an investment property if they were to purchase it, but they were looking for some place for them to stay when they came on the Huntsville end. But he said the master bedroom was nice size, but the other rooms seemed a little small. But other than that, it would be more of an investment property. So Martell pipes up and says, well, if you need something bigger, I can build you something bigger. What, Martell? What? Huh? Martell got his business license now, y'all? Yeah, okay. So, all right, Martell, you can build him something bigger. Anyway, he said, yeah, whatever you need, tell me the location. I can build you something bigger. Just because you've seen the small houses don't mean I can't build a larger house. I say, talk that mess, Martell. Talk it. What you gotta do? Fake it till you make it. That's what they say. Man, he clearly faking it. You guys gather around and they talk about, how all the ladies on the trip. And somebody says, yeah, I've heard just a lot of cattiness. And somebody said, well, when you have a bunch of women, that's what you get, blah, blah, blah. And then they looked at Moses and said, both your women there. And he basically explained that neither one of them knew that the other one was coming. So that's how they ended up there. He said Melly had invited Sonny. And then I guess, he told him Destiny came later. But he said she said a lot of people were coming for his wife. He said, not to point anybody out, he said, but your wife was coming at my wife and she had to speak up because nobody really knows about the real, the situation or whatever at hand. And then I guess when he pointed to Ken, that's when Tricia came up and Marceau was being his messy self. I guess it rubs off in that household. And he was like, yeah. Well, Ken said, well, she's pretty good at training. And but Marceau, yeah, she trained Destiny. She trained Tisha. And he said, from what I remember, she trained Martell too. Said, didn't you slide into her DMs and ask for training? So it goes from there. And Martell says, no, ain't no woman training me. And then that's when Kim basically said, well, she's pretty good. She be working me out in the gym. And, they go through that whole song and dance about, Ken saying something about whatever happened. It was before him. So he can't get mad about anything that happened before him. But then Maurice brings up something that says, well, why is Trish still married? And it's been like 5 years. Why are they still married? Because he said, you're supposed to take the hand of your future and let go of the past. He said, what is it that she's holding on to in the past? I'm paraphrasing, but something to that effect. And then that's how it goes on. am interested in how I think the guys are going to go on a trip too. I think they're going to be somewhere as well. And because they feel like they're being left out in the cold, I think. But that'll be interesting. Because you know how, who's the single? Oh, Martell. Martell going to show his behind over in one of them islands, acting like that with one of them island girls. Oh, my goodness. That'll be entertaining, I guess. Anyway, if that's the case, I think I remember some pictures that someone posted on their IG and didn't look like the same place that the girls were at. So it looks like they might go somewhere too. Like they might probably go to Mexico or something. Anyway, y'all leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Make sure you hit that like button before you exit out. This review lasts a little longer than what I had planned it to. I tend to go on a little rant sometimes, but again, please like, share, and subscribe. Everyone be blessed. Peace.